You know, you guys, as we've already seemingly transitioned in the blink of an eye into the second round already of this year's playoffs, people are really starting to lean into the conversation of who their championship favorites are based on what we've seen. And usually, when we're seeing people having these conversations, the first three teams to come to mind are generally the Celtics, the Bucks, and even the Golden State Warriors. But what I've also noticed is that so many people are seeming to forget about one of the most dominant teams we've seen this season, which I believe is due to many different reasons at that, but yes, it is none other than the Phoenix Suns. Because not only have they continued to prove they are a championship favorite from what they've done so far in the postseason, but it's also clear as day that this team knows exactly what they need to do to be walking home with the Larry O'Brien trophy at the end of the postseason. And I'm sure that some of you are asking how, so let's get into it. One sec though, guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to never miss another NBA video. Love you guys. And for any of you regulars that haven't yet, believe me, now is the perfect time to do so, because according to my numbers, over 95% of you guys coming back to watch the content haven't even subscribed yet. So for any of you that do, thank you so much. But anyway, to get back into the first series we saw with the Phoenix Suns in this postseason, which of course resulted in them going 6 games with the 8-seeded New Orleans Pelicans, and it seemed to leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. But if we're gonna be real, this New Orleans Pelicans team was far better than the typical 8 seed, and in my opinion, they would have been a top 6 team if they had this team all year. But of course, while also missing Devin Booker for more than half of the series, this did give the Suns about as big of a handful as they could have received. But in my opinion, this also pointed out some of the biggest reasons as to why this team is far better this season than they were last, and also why any team that might stand in their way is going to have some major questions to answer from almost all aspects of the game. Because first things first, just to name some of the key details of this team, is that I think it's safe to say that Mikal Bridges is no longer just that solid two-way role player within this rotation, but he is developing into an absolute star of his own caliber and is having even more of an impact on the offensive side of the ball this season. And along with this, do you guys remember in the previous offseason when Chris Paul signed his 4-year, $120 million deal with the Phoenix Suns? And I remember like it was yesterday, so many people immediately jumped the gun to say that the decline of Chris Paul was on its way soon. And while I guess this statement still could be true in due time, we are not seeing a decline even in the slightest form this season. And even aside from the regular season numbers, if you've been watching this team so far in the postseason, you would know that CP3 has been on an absolute tear so far. And while I know it's not guaranteed to continue going forward, it has had a monumental impact on the team thus far. But undoubtedly, the biggest difference in this team this season, which ultimately was also the reason they did not walk away as champions last year, is easily the drastic improvement we have seen in their interior offense, which can stem to the massive growth we have seen out of their big man in Deandre Ayton. Because I'm sure most of you remember last offseason when Deandre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns could not come to agreement on a contract, which was mainly due to the fact that Deandre Ayton thought he was a max contract player, while the Phoenix Suns were not necessarily convinced yet. And as you could have guessed, this lack of confidence came from Giannis Antetokounmpo absolutely destroying their interior defense in the 2021 finals. And of course, while Deandre Ayton definitely still has a lot to prove throughout the remainder of the Phoenix Suns 2022 playoff run, we still should note that he has had a very solid and improved season so far this year, and has even stepped it up to a new degree thus far in the playoffs. And in a year where his own team doubted him and ultimately challenged him to prove he was worthy of the money he requested, he has definitely stepped up to the plate and then some so far. And one of the biggest improvements we've seen out of him this year that has been requested of him so much prior in his short NBA career has been his ability to develop a mid-post game and jump shot, which I will say in the matter of a year he has perfected almost to the T. But even while the necessary improvements have been made in Deandre Ayton's game over the course of this year transition, it was still very, very clear to the front office that there needed to be more of an interior presence established on this team. And from the beautiful production this team has received from their offseason acquisition in JaVale McGee, and even their miracle finding in Bismack Biyombo, which has added so much insurance on the inside, this team's ability to somehow add another solid aspect to their game alongside their tremendous outside shooting and mid-range game. They've, at least from what we've seen so far, seemed to add the missing puzzle piece to an offense that can attack you from almost any angle possible. And with the very obvious effect that this has had both on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball for this team, it seems that this doesn't necessarily just give them another one-up against specific opponents, but it also, to their desire, will give them a solid fight no matter where a team might want to attack them. And last but not least, I think one of the major things that so many people forget when they're selecting a championship contender or a title favorite is simply the intangibles. I mean, with being able to throw a core four like this at different teams who has improved in some major different areas all across the board, and along with this, like we mentioned, filling the major gaps that were obvious in this rotation from their failure last year, I think it's pretty safe for me to say that the Suns have one of the more versatile rotations to throw at any team that might challenge them. And I know it could go without saying, but one of the biggest intangibles they did not possess last year of experience is something that will clearly only help, and again, I don't think many people take it into consideration. But hey, I mean, for a team that had a historic season thus far in terms of being that far ahead of the pack and dominating their competition, I'm pretty confident that as these series continue, it's only going to be a matter of time before the Suns find their way into some of the analysts' favorites to walk away with the championship this season. I could be wrong though, I mean, they have their own opinions as I do, but I know you guys do too, as we're on to my favorite part of every video, which is hearing what you guys have to say. So please let me know in the comments, what is the biggest difference that you see in this Phoenix Suns team this season? And on top of that, who is the biggest challenge standing in the way of the Phoenix Suns walking away as the 2022 NBA champions? But also guys, again, if you haven't yet, don't forget to go down below and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and of course, subscribe while you're down there. You guys, I truly cannot say it enough, we are trying to come out with brand new NBA content almost every single day with the playoffs here, so just believe me when I say this, you do not want to miss out. But also, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for watching. I appreciate all of you more than anything, you all know this, and I will see you guys in the next video.